All right, welcome to this webinar on giving you more like a career guidance and a few tips on how you can become a QA engineer. If you're someone who's beginning in this field, if you're someone who wants to get into QA or software testing or quality assurance and want to get into the whole field, how do you do that? What's your approach? So this webinar is going to give you a quick overview about a few tips, how you approach it and so on. So what we're going to do as part of this webinar is, as I said, we'll talk about some tips for your career guidance, a roadmap of what has to be done, and help you do a quick start in approaching your goal. So before we get there, I have a quick question for everyone. Every one of you who's currently attending this webinar, which is close to about 100 members, and the hundreds and thousands of other new people who are going to watch this as a video. So why do you want to be a QA engineer? Unless you have a very good reason to be able to answer to this, I mean, it doesn't really make sense or give a clarity of what you can, right? What you should do is look at these options that I've put. Do any of these reasons meet why you want to become a QA engineer? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link for this poll in the chat. So I want you to click on this specific link that I showed you here. Let me, in fact, yeah, the link in the chat, that way it won't work. So you'll need to have it as one word. This should work. I hope all can hear me because I see most of you can. In the GoToMeeting, you can look at your audio settings and make sure that you set it up. So here is the same question I've asked now as a poll. Okay, I want you to look into this question and choose one of them. Why would you want to be a QA engineer? Okay, so is it because there are more jobs in this field? Is it because it's an easy way to get into IT industry, like QA being an easy way? Is it because QA requires no programming or no coding? Or because you think that it pays better than probably what field you are in? Or is it a peer pressure? When I say peer pressure, I mean that is it because you see more people that you know in your circles are in the IT industry? A lot of your friends, a lot of your acquaintances keep talking about IT, and you feel that you want to get into IT and you believe that QA is a good fit. So please pick your reason. So what you should do is the link that I've put in the chat, and which will also be posted on my website, itelearn.com, is the one you should take a poll on. Let me see, get to view the results quickly. So give me a second, please. So when I looked into the poll results quickly, you'll see that there are about 70, 60 odd entries so far, and most are pointing to either more jobs in the QA industry, or it is saying that it's an easy way to get into IT. So yes, there are a few on no coding. There are a few on pays better, or even on peer pressure, but more seem to be the easy way to get into IT and the more jobs, right? So that's what people are saying right now. So this poll will also be available on the website for you to take a quick look into and be able to analyze what others are saying. Now, yes, that's not a bad reason, but the reality is, yes, there are more jobs, but that also means that there is a larger competition. There are more people who are aiming for it. Easy way to get into IT, yes, but again, this is more sarcastically that I put there, that there is so much competition that the ease of learning something is becoming absolutely different now. So there are so many people trying to get into IT that your competition is so huge. So if it is so easy, then it is no longer edge enough for you, correct? So you need to be able to focus higher on something that will give you an edge. No coding, again, that's fine. You don't need to be coding, but there are lot of automation tools and other areas that a little bit of coding skill will help, and that becomes an edge for you. Okay, pays better, yes, again this is arguable because it depends on what you're comparing to. Peer pressure, yes, I can definitely understand that there's a peer pressure, because if a lot of my friends keep talking about it, then I'm interested at least in it, correct? So that's the whole area. But I wanted you to be able to identify what your core goal is. Why do you really want to get in there? And be able to identify the QA as more that yes, it is a, you have more jobs available locally. Why do you have more jobs? Very simple reason. You have more jobs because any company, forget about it being an IT company or something, any company that you look into in today's world, it has a IT division in it, right? Every IT division is basically looking at creating and bringing new software applications and tools for that entire company to use. And every IT application or software that they build has to be tested and ran through the testing process before it can be assured. And that is where your QA and testing comes into play. Okay, so irrespective of if it is a company that is using Java or .NET or C# or something like that, or it is doing some core like PHP, Perl or Ruby on Rails, or it is something into more ERP based where it is using an SAP or a PeopleSoft or an Oracle and so on, irrespective of these fields or these technologies, QA is a common area. So what happens is you find lots more jobs in QA because they're so widely available in every company. Fewer jobs, but every company needs a testing role. All right. Now, look at this next question. Who is your competition? But before I go there, I want you to quickly give me a feedback if you can all hear me okay, team. The reason I'm asking this is a live webinar, and since there are over 100 members in it, I want to make sure that most of you can hear me. If some of you cannot hear, I'm sure they'll figure a way to be able to rejoin or watch this recording offline. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. So now that you know that this is your goal, identify who is your competition. Because if you look at the slide before this, we said more jobs, and it is an easy way to get into. And the only thing that is really preventing this from happening is a competition to you. So who is your competition? And I've been very upfront in writing a few of these points, but again, let's see what the polls say. That way we will know which is the one which is pointing to more. Someone who is a fresh graduate, someone who's working who's not been working so far but is coming out of a school or college, someone who's development in IT already, who's an IT developer, be it on a C#, .NET, Java, whatever be it, or someone who's just got a recent work status, someone who's not been working so far but has been enabled with a new work status and they really want to get into that work zone, or someone who's not from IT field at all. I know some of these could be common. There could be commonality, but where do most of your competition come in? And that's where I want you to take the second poll. Now, please do note that this poll should be something which is very applicable to what you do, how you work with, and how you feel about such things, because that's going to give you an idea of what the whole industry does. I have put the poll link in the chat for everyone attending this live webinar, so you can start to post the answers for it. I will start taking them up. And meanwhile, I'm going to open up the report and have a look into what's coming up as entries to it. All right. So I'm going to scroll down because This has been copied from an existing form. So most of the questions could be repeating in there, but let's look at from here. Okay, there you go. So you'll see a plethora of information. IT developer, someone from non-IT field. See, initially I thought IT developer may not be, but then I did my own search. Then I did my own analysis. And I saw an IT developer also is a good competition. Or someone who's a fresh grad, someone from a non-IT field, someone who's got a new work status, and so on. So you see a lot of inputs already coming in. I'm sure most of you are currently completing this survey. So please do complete this survey so that we all can look into the answers. I've already got about 60, 70, and I'm sure as people start watching the video, you'll get more responses to it. The reason is it is important for you to be able to analyze who can come and take this. Why are these people attacking it? Someone who is absolutely beginner, who's a novice, who's just passed out of college, they are able to come in and become a threat. Why? Because there is it's an easier tool to learn, correct? It is not a tool or a concept or a field to get into, and it requires not major level of coding. It's not mandatory, and you could pick up a lot of skill in about 2-3 months time. So is everyone else. But why is an IT developer coming to this field? The reason an IT developer is entering into this is because of the fact that there are lots of jobs locally for a given field. Okay, so there are local jobs for a given field. For development, there could be, let's say, about 100 jobs which are close to you currently. For QA, let's say there are about 40 jobs that are close to you. But within development, for let's say a Java professional, there are about 30. For C# or .NET, there are about 20. For SAP, there are about 10. For PeopleSoft, there are about 10 or 5. For Oracle, there are few. For database administration, there are some more, and so on. So this 100 on development is split. Okay. So a developer, let's say, who is working on .NET or C#, and that developer has recently lost a job or is out of a project. For them, they have only 20 jobs in their local area, and let's say they don't want to relocate. Then what is the other option? Switch the field into something else. What can they shift into? They can shift into a newer technology, right? But again, a steeper learning curve. Or they can get into QA, smaller number of jobs, but they believe with their development and project experience, they could quickly add value. And that's why you'll see a lot of IT developers also trying to aim at this QA space. Okay, so that's about you to understand what and who is primarily doing it. Now let's look at that. Once you have cleared the intent that yes, I want to get into it, and you know what can be a competition, what do recruiters want? And when I say recruiters, I don't just mean to say HR. I mean to say test leads or QA managers who are trying to hire people or new QA engineers into their team. What do they want to see? They want to see someone who's a team player. They want to see someone who can work hard or who can learn things quickly, who is fluid and dynamic, who are able to adapt themselves to different changes, who are able to do a self-start. They don't need to come behind you and keep pushing you, right? But at the same time, they also hope that you have good communication. Why? Because a QA engineer is not working independently. Please note this. A developer may work independently in some portions, very independently some portions. They know what to do. They go about trying to get that done. At the end, they submit it, right? A QA engineer is very interactive role. They have to interact with the development, with the business analyst field, with the actual business or the end users of it. They will need to interact with the overall IT program management to get an idea of what needs to go on. So does everyone else. But a QA engineer needs to have a lot of communication, both written and verbal. Remember this very, very critically. Your ability to communicate will stand way apart from anything else in this field. When I say good knowledge, you are expected to have knowledge on the specific domain. Okay, domain, which is things like, are you from a testing domain? Not domain, sorry. Are you from a, let's say, media domain, or are you from a banking or a financial domain? Do you basically understand the business process concept in a specific area? Why? Because unless you know what is the correct functionality, how will you be able to test? What are all these that I'm saying? These are the requirements that your lead or your recruiter is looking from you. Do you know the process? Do you know how the entire QA cycle will work? Where do we start? How do we start to work with each other? Do you have a good expertise? Expertise in sense that skills or tools or best practices or documentations, more experience. For example, how many test cases have you written and so on? Okay, good skills, good tools. In the sense, to make our jobs easy, there are skills and tools that we use. Without tools, there is nothing. For example, even a Microsoft Excel is a tool, is a beautiful tool. To what extent you can use it is limited by your own capability. A Word, Microsoft Word is a tool. So is like Jira or a qualitycenter or a QTP or a roadrunner or Selenium and so on. Okay, each tool has its own offering. But these are the basic things that you would see any recruiter or a real or a lead looking into. Now, what do they really mean when they say that this is what I expect to see? What is it that they really look into? They look into these questions. And these questions are very meaningful to you. Please note to these questions in this slide. Repeat this on the video if possible. Because this is what really happens when we try and recruit someone. Is the person that I'm going to recruit going to waste my time, going to eat into me, or are they going to add to my what we are doing? Because a lot of times we sit down and handhold and teach them that do this, do that, do this, do that. Can they sit independently and work at the end of the day? If they cannot understand, will they keep on coming back for questions, or will they be able to analyze, if needed, spend another 3 hours additional in a day to get the things done or not? How about can they write, at least have they ever written test cases? Do they know, do they have the do they have the experience for doing it? For example, a lot of times when we say for junior QA engineer, you may see that there is a constant amount of applications coming in. And we also know that probably not everyone has put a genuine experience and they're trying to begin in this field. And that is okay, that is understandable. But at the same time, we cannot gauge it. We hope for genuine experience. If we don't get it, how do we gauge it? We hope that at least this person is not theoretical, has not just seen a few videos or read through a couple of blogs or posts or books and coming in here. Have they ever even written test cases? Did they try to do it? Did they actually do it? Because there's a difference between actually doing it and looking at someone doing it, right? Do you have the in-depth knowledge on tools? For example, you think that you want to add a Selenium or a QTP. Do you really know these tools well enough that you can start using it? Or it is more like saying that, yeah, I know it. Yes, I can do it. But to what extent? Again, you come on the job, and are you going to waste the time? All right. Will you be able to share the workload? Every point that I'm showing here is something that you will need to find a way to improve so that you are better received in these interviews and better picked for this market. Or are you going to be a burden? Will you share the workload, which is what you want to get hired for, or are you going to be a burden? Can we depend on you? In the sense, when we say, can I depend on you, it is like if I give you a task and say that, you know what, take this task, Mark, finish it, come back to me tomorrow and show me what you've done. I come back tomorrow and I see nothing, then it's an issue. I come back tomorrow and I see that you've now only noted a list of questions that you want to ask me, it's an issue. I would like to see a completed work. If the work will not get completed, I at least expect you to come back and tell me, Karthik, no, it's not going to get done. We cannot do it. It's a very tight timeline. This is my challenge. Or can you help me here? Can you guide me somewhere? So can we really depend on you to give you a task and you get it done? If you have questions, that's fine. Channel your questions. Can you bring it in? Or do we need to teach you? Will you spend extra time? This is very critical, at least for beginners. Let me tell you why. If you are new on job, you will face a lot of new hurdles. Things that you've not seen theoretically when you went again on training and so on. So what do you do then? How can you get better? Every hour that you spend on a project is what is creating you for the next project. The first 6 months that you do on a project is very essential. So please do not treat your work as an 8-hour schedule. If you do that, then you're looking for a temporary goal, not a futuristic. Look at your 8 hours more from a 10 to 12 hours of effort that you need to put in. Because unless you get that hard work in initially, you may not be successful in the long run. Or you have to be really lucky to get a project which is bearing you into that. Yes, we all take time, any new field. All I'm saying is be prepared to know that these are important. Okay, and again, can they talk and write is a very critical statement, but very important, because if you have a question and you write an email and the email says something else altogether, your question is not answered. I have wasted my time in answering something else and we are still stuck in the same problem. So how clearly can you communicate something? I don't need someone who speaks fabulous English. I don't need someone who writes amazing content. I need someone who's clear in what they talk and what they write. All right, that is very important. Now, these are the real questions that you would actually see recruiters or test lead, not HR people. HR have a different reason to look into what you want. Okay, for a QA engineer specifically. All right, this is very specific to QA. Now, what could be the different things you and I could do in this area? I have about 10, again, not limited, but I try to limit my whole ideas into about 10 points that you could do. What could you do to be able to successfully get into this QA field? Okay, now this is again assuming that you are a beginner into this field and you're looking at a good guidance as to what should be done. The first thing is basics, the fundamentals, the foundations, without which we cannot do anything. There is a huge set of free content available across the web. Just do your search, find something, sit through it, read it. Not with an intent that you will master testing. There is nothing called mastering testing theoretically. It is on the job training that will really help you. But get the idea of what testing is, what is involved, what are the different terminologies. How does a simple process of testing happen? How can you write test cases? How can you start testing and maintaining defects? How do you communicate them? That whole life cycle of testing, get a fundamental concept. Okay, how? Just do a free search. In fact, even on my website, you'll find content that is free content enough for you to get a good start, at least a good start. Okay, so just search through it, surf through it, or join some training which is really apt for you on that area and go with it. Okay, the next one is you find someone as a partner that you can work with. Find someone in the QA industry who can guide you to what and how the whole life is. Again, don't bug them with too much of your questions, but you will find a lot of your answers online. If you're really passionate, if you're really serious about your goal, and if you have justified the initial few slides on the poll there, then you can be able to ask very specific, precise questions, and I'm sure there are people out there who want to help you with it. Okay, find someone that you can learn with, or find someone who is in the IT industry who can give you a guidance apart from the hard work that you're preparing. When I say learn with, because it will give you a way to work in a team environment, not necessarily independently, because you're not able to gauge what you're doing right now. Okay, or find a group or a forum that you can join where you're able to share thoughts that you have, or you're able to put some. The forum that I've started to create on itelearn.com is a free forum for all to view, only for members unfortunately to post, but for example, that is a forum. You can find people in there to interact with. The next one is do a project. This is such an important thing in the sense that unless you really get to doing or executing a project, you don't know what are the real critical aspects that will come into it. Okay, even for example, someone who's in a sports field, unless they do a lot of trial runs around the track, they are not comfortable in doing that final race, right? So you have to practice on it. You have to continuously practice in improving it. And how can you do it? By getting a project. Take a project and assume that it's a real project. Okay, or when you find someone, ask them, hey, you know what, just guide me, what is it that I can take and I can just practice on. Even if they give you something vaguely, try it, because that's what you have with them right now. Okay, take a website, take an example, start executing it from a QA angle. How? Go through that entire life cycle, write some documentation, create a very basic test plan, write a few test cases and scenarios, and then go and execute them. If you find anything different from what you expect, then you report a defect or you create a defect log, and then you maintain that entire thing as a cycle. Okay, it doesn't. Now, one more big misconception, please let me wipe out from everyone's mind. A QA engineer is not about someone who has the ability to find defects. Okay, when I say that, I mean that you are not assessed by the number of defects you will find. Oh yeah, Jack found 20 defects, he's the best, or Pearl, she found only 2 defects, she's not doing a good job. No, it is a combination of your functional knowledge, your process knowledge of testing, your tool skill, how you communicate with others and with everything else in the team, and how much of a team player you are. These are it is a direct derivative out of it. If you find defects or not find defect is not a measure of it. If there's a defect, you'll automatically find it if you follow the process. Okay, so it is about doing the project. So find someone, do a project. In fact, I have published a QA dummy live interactive project for all the members on IT Learn. So hopefully that will help a lot of people who have subscribed to the course there. You can look at it again on the website in the software testing tutorial section. Okay, now the next one is, again, I cannot assess the importance of this project. Just one project will not do. The more you do in terms of projects, the more you build in terms of your skill. Do another project. All right. You will have to execute. The more projects you do, the more different things you're exposed to, the better it is. Why? Because you are a very different animal when you sit in front of an interviewer. Okay. They look at you, they know that yes, you've done something. It shows directly in the words and what we speak. Otherwise, it's absolutely blatant theoretical answers that are coming out from you. Try and build as much practical expertise. Do simple projects. Okay, take up anything, take up any website and start doing a little bit of test planning, a little bit of test cases and trying to execute them. That's it. You don't need to do anything major, but follow through a guide or a process that you can online. Learn a tool. Why do you need to learn a tool? Tool is important from an edge standpoint. How do you differentiate yourself from 1,000 other people who are applying for a job, for the same job, for a QA engineer position? When there is everyone who's standing at the same rate, let's say $40 per hour is the rate. Then how do you, one second please, let me take a different color altogether. Okay. Did I choose a different color? I did. Oh, okay, pen. There you go. Okay, then. Yeah. So how do you choose between someone who's working at $40 an hour to someone who is everyone is applying for the same job, right? So everyone has already agreed that yes, $40 an hour is good enough. And let's say everyone is between 2 to 4 years of experience. All right. Now, how do you differentiate yourself, or how will the interview be able to choose who can they select among this category of people? Can someone do an automation? Has someone worked or used tools like Jira or Bugzilla? Do they have functional knowledge in that specific domain? Can they do a lot of coding or do a little bit of coding for tools like Qtp and Selenium? That will give an edge to everyone who learns a new tool. So try and learn a tool, but this is not as important as the initial things about basics of testing, what is how you can do some QA projects and so on. Okay, but this will give you a good edge, definitely. All right. So now let's look at how do you further assess it. You do a job search daily. The reason I'm saying daily is because there will be so many jobs which are coming into the market and going. I want you to just spend 5 minutes, not more, in trying to see, okay, what jobs have come out today? What happened to the jobs which got posted a week back? Are they reposting it, or are they not posting it anymore? Are they still available, and so on? If you're comfortable, start applying. But at least look at what is being asked. What is being asked for? Okay. So for example, you will see a few new terms being asked repeatedly, like mobile testing, someone who's done iOS-based, device-based testing, and so on. And then you'll see that, oh, this seems to be very catchy. This seems to be a field that I need to focus on. How will you ever know what is the best thing that the market is requiring? By doing a job search. Use Dice, use Monster, use Career Builder, use even LinkedIn, for example, and search for the QA jobs in your criteria. Create filters where you can say that these jobs are being sent to you over the email. All right. And then once you do that, you know what they are looking for. What are the requirements? And you will get a better idea that, okay, this is something that I need to pick. Anything new, just do a quick research and find out and keep a small note aside. What is this? They've asked for something, you don't know what that is, and not everyone can, but at least search, keep that definition or the description of it completely different. Just create your catalog of different things that way. Right? That will give you a big significant edge. And like I said, it is a small start in the sense that nothing big has ever started with a big bang. Okay, the only thing probably did was our universe, but everything else had a small gradual growth. It went steadily unless you realize that it has become very difficult for you to set expectations. Why? Not everyone has started with a $50 an hour job. Okay, they have reached that after a period of time. There was a lot of time when they didn't really earn much, when they were investing time in getting there, and slowly probably started with the $20, or they've been lucky with 30, or even sometimes with 40, doesn't matter. I want you to focus on a small start. Sometimes when you apply for a $40 hour job, but you say that this is what I want only $20. So there are middlemen or layers who are looking at their profitability for this. Right now, it is not the $20 that is important for you. It is the job that gives you that quick start, that doing the project, right? So you take that risk and say that I am ready to do it at a low price because it will help you with a quick start. Okay. If you're confident, you have good skills, and you have got everything lined up, don't worry about this. But otherwise, start small. So that there are middlemen who think that, okay, I can make better profit through it, and they try and push you further. Okay, they try and give you the insights of what you should do. Show your enthusiasm that you want it. That will give you a good small start, but then you can build on. The first 6 months, you have to work hard. You have to forget about what you're really getting in terms of money, but from there on, you can build on it. All right. So, or even do internship where you don't really get paid, but what you're trying to do is something that will give you a good experience, to build an experience. Okay. Uh, Network is basically, again, when I say find someone, you got to try and find people in this area, and socially also on LinkedIn and so on. Try and search for QA engineers who are local to you. Try and send them invites saying that you want to join it, and then once they accept the invites, then you send questions to them. Find a social forum or a group that you can join where you can ask basic career related questions. Right? Once you do that, you are able to engage yourself. Now, please note, humanly, you cannot do everything that I've mentioned here. Pick what you can and try and do them. All right, but each of them will add values to it. Some more, some less, but each one can do a lot good if you take it seriously. Okay, so if you network with people socially and try and find people, you're getting an idea of what's happening. You're able to ask questions, get yourself better answers. That's a big guide for you as well. Okay, now as you go through this whole process, you may get lost and find out that 6 months you put into it, 4 months you put into it, no jobs are coming in. There is a market, there are jobs coming and going, but you are not getting the call. So don't get lost. This is the time when you have to go and reach out to someone who's an expert in this field. Try and find out from some recruitment firm, some major recruiter, and find what can you do to get better at your job search. Take professional advice at this time. Okay, someone who's really strong into placements. I'm not yet very strong into placements, so I'm not a good source for it. But you go find someone who's really good into placements who can help you. All right. So you should not say that, give up saying that I've done all this, still not happen. You need some professional advice. Go to a professional placement consultancy and see what can they do for you. All right. And the last one is the simple thing called do it. The reason this is very important is to know that every QA engineer has started somewhere. And if I look at the number of people who have come from different fields, very, very few people have come out of college, got corporate training, whereas they've been trained in-house, and then put onto a dummy project as what do you call backup resource, and then put into a real project. Okay, statistically, this ideal way is very few of them have done it. More people have done by getting out of college, doing a quick course on some specific concept, getting their fundamentals, doing some sample projects and going for it, or learning tools like Selenium or QTP to whatever extent and going for it, or moving out from a different non-IT background to this, again following that entire process and doing it. Lot of people have done it this way. Okay, so you have the ability to do it in this specific manner, and you can definitely make impact. But look at what, and some of the points that I put in here, I'm sure that they will give you a great insight into it. All right, so please, if you have questions on what I've shown you in this presentation so far, please put it on chat. I would like to take some of them up. But the whole essence is the approach that you take, and how do you go about your whole exercise of trying to become a QA engineer. All right. Any questions from anyone? Please do put it. Again, see, questions which are very specific will not make sense. For example, there's a question which came in saying, if I don't know QC and Jira, how will I track defects? Again, if you're trying to ask very specific question, try and do a different forum. But the simple answer is use an Excel sheet and use emails. That's it. Okay. Do we need to pay the access? Again, if there's anything commercial in terms of access and fees and all that, please send an email. The team will be able to respond to you. What are the primary tools used by the QA engineer? So there are tools for managing the QA tasks like qualitycenter, jira, bugzilla, MS Office. Okay. There are tools which do more automation like QTP and Selenium, and tools which help in taking even screenshots, or tools which help in doing some database handling and so on. So many tools, but some of the tools that I mentioned is most important. What is tester position and QA engineer? I don't know what is that question. Let me see. How much application knowledge do you need for testing job? So how much application knowledge do you need for a testing job? Preferably a lot, as much as you can, because unless you know what is the right way the application is supposed to be working, how will you identify and say that this is incorrect or this is a defect, right? But again, not everyone comes into the testing world with that knowledge. You pick it up as you go through this. So you have some basic knowledge, but once you get in, one of the quick learning things that I told you in the project, in the job, is to gain this functional knowledge. That is very important. Real life project experience, again, you have to try and network. You have to try and find people who you can work with, who can help you into guiding you into some dummy project. For example, if you look at most of what I've done in QTP and Selenium, and I've told people through my trainings that if you want projects, don't think about anything. Just redo whatever I've shown. That is it. Okay, I've shown you everything as projects. Just pick up some of them and redo it as projects, or try it on different applications. The approach is the same. All right, that is how you should try and get into it. How non-IT person can enter into IT, for example, 6+ years non-IT into IT. So again, it's a very wide question. Vinay, I appreciate your question, but I cannot give a straight answer because it depends. When it's a non-IT, which background. Let's say you've been as a banking teller, or you've been working in a healthcare industry. The good part is that sometimes you have already built domain knowledge of how the applications are supposed to be working. So now you learn the process, and say that you've been working as part of this team, but you know so much about these applications that you're able to easily identify and say that what is correct and what is not. You can put that as a proper experience and try and show it. All right. Most of jobs ask for experience. How to show experience who has no experience at all? I would suggest that you spend a little time in watching that crank your resume video that I've shown earlier. It's there on my website. If you go to itlearn.com, in the events, you will see a crank your resume. And you should also see the crack your interview. There are lots of direct and indirect ways, but you should know how you could do it in a lot of ways, and those videos will help you. Can you differentiate yourself from the others people who are applying? Yes, and that's where you need to create an edge. You learn tools, you have a good process, or you have a great domain skill. One of this will become a prime area. Elaborate more on doing projects. So what I'll do is I will see if I can record the first video of what we are doing as a new dummy project in this software testing tutorial, and publish that first video out for everyone to look at. You'll get an idea through it. I'm trying to just take a few of these questions so that I can answer that quickly, but I know a lot of questions. What is the basic requirement to become a QA engineer? Okay, Arshin, the basic requirement is start all over this video again. That is what I've been trying to answer in this. Is XML important? See, HTML, XML, these are basic things. If you know a little bit about it, that is fine. You don't need to be an expert at it. You know what they are, how they look like, what do they work, which will take about half an hour on w3schools.com. Just do a quick revision. That is it. Okay, how someone can get hands-on training on QTP? Again, I don't want to sell my own software testing course, but you should look at a lot of project-based tutorials on the web and pick up something on that line. Okay, let's see. Wow, there are over 100 participants. There's so many questions. I'm just trying to make sure that I at least get the best. What is the best tool or where to start a QA engineer? So there are best tools, but they're hard to learn. They'll take time. There are simpler tools, but they're not the best. They're easier to learn. They're not the best tools. So you have to be able to balance between them and see which is what most prescribed. Okay. All right, so thank you so much everyone for attending. I am going to take this as a questionnaire. All the questions that have come in the chat, there's so many questions, and I'll put it up as an addendum to this video on the website. You can look at this recorded session on the website as well, and watch it again if you want. If you've seen the videos, the polls will also be there. Okay. Hopefully, I've given some input to people and hopefully this will help a lot of you. So all the best, do well, and please do not lose hope. Keep trying, keep going through the process and focus on it. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.